And we are live. How's it going, Kevin?
What is going on, Mike? Hello, everybody. Your Mike's in Trick Room right now,
I'm
ladies
in
and
Trick Room right now. I wanted to ask you, how was your week? Yeah, no, that's great. So mine was, I went to the store, had a real nice time.
You went to the store? That you spent a week in the store?
No, you're supposed to tell me how your day was.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
What? Okay, listen.
Mike, you remember how last week I said I was top 500?
Okay.
Well, this week I'm top 12,000.
So it seems like things have happened in the competitive.
It's okay. I just took my rating and I used the Trick Room, Mike. So I'm actually number 1 in the world.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, of course. Well, actually, what I was trying to do back there, I was trying to do a little trick rooming of my own, where the priority isn't exactly what it looks like in terms of the normal speed tiers. So in the speed tier of me asking how was your week, normally you're supposed to go first, but instead I went first. Exactly.
Whoa, Mike.
Exactly. And that's completely and utterly what we're talking about today. Today is all about Trick Room, the terrible epidemic that is happening on
God.
VGC right now and doubles.
It's like the only thing I can't do anything about right now with my team. I feel like this generation specifically, at least maybe this metagame specifically, it's very oppressive. It feels very oppressive. Like when you see it, you're just like it's just a deep sigh. There's not much you could do. You just kind of have to sit there, deal with it, because it's almost 100% guarantee set. And you just gotta stall out the game for as much as you can. Yeah, you just gotta try to sit through it and do the best you can.
Just stay alive, yeah. So welcome everybody to Pokésports, a competitive Pokemon podcast. I am again your host, StillJustMike, and I'm here with Kevin, xRazeOvation, over to my left. If you're listening to us on Spotify and you're one of the new listeners on that platform, then welcome. I'm happy to deliver my voice and Kevin's voice to your ears.
Deliver my voice.
Exactly. That's all
Prime
the podcasting
shipping,
is, really.
right before Christmas.
If you go to
listen now to get my voice.
You go to patreon.com/Pokésports Podcast. You can have our voices delivered to you there too.
Right before Christmas.
Exactly. It makes the perfect Christmas gift to somebody who doesn't. Anyway, on this podcast, we talk to you all about wow, I can't. What's
Mike forgot his water, guys. It's okay. I'll drink some for you.
It's okay. I'm back. So on this podcast, we talk to you all about different aspects of the competitive Pokemon scene in all of its forms. And we're going to kind of get into what that means in the coming weeks. But just know there's some pretty super secret things planned for Pokésports that I'm really excited about. For now, what we're doing is looking at VGC. VGC, mind you, is a thing that Kevin is a big proponent of, something that I have been kind of on the outskirts of for the last little while, trying to learn as much as I could about it. But anyway, if you're looking around on Twitch right now, since we do record this every week, it's Sunday at 9 p.m. EST, you'll notice that things are different than they were last week. We have had a full redesign of all of our logos and images and all of that good stuff. So we got
new pixels, Mike.
Exactly. We got new pixels. We got big shout out to the Average Joe, who put all that together. He's a real pal, getting that done super quick. We really appreciate it. That said, if you guys would like to be a pal, if you do notice the old logo anywhere, I'm doing my best to track down all of them. But if you see an old logo floating around and you're like, wait a second, I thought Pokésports changed. It did. It's this now. So
We're trying to snipe all the old logos.
Exactly.
So
Snipe them down. Snipe them down.
give us their coordinates.
Exactly. Give us their home addresses. We'll go to them. If you find them, you can DM them to us on Twitter at Pokésportspod or on Instagram at Pokésportspodcast. Anyway, so this week, let's start with a little bit of news. I wanted to actually, because I realized that we've been doing this podcast for a couple of weeks now. We've been talking about a very specific type of stat. That's been kind of given from VGC Stats at VGC Stats on Twitter. That's all coming from something called the Galar Weekly. And I feel like we haven't really talked too much about it, and we haven't really shedded it out that much. So we're going to do it right now. The Galar Weekly has been going on for the past 4 weeks. It's been hosted by VGC Stats. It actually tweeted out today that it has 173 players on it. So
this week?
This week's Galar Weekly has 173 players.
I mean, it started off with only like close to 100. So that's big growth. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, the cool thing about Galar Weekly is that it collects all of the data and it like distributes all of that data from their tournament.
They were doing it before other places were. That's primarily why we use them to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
There was like no other place we can get VGC data from. Like I think even Showdown wasn't releasing it. So yeah. Thank God that they were doing it.
Exactly. Like Showdown was holding it really close to their hearts. Like I'm sure like whoever admins Pokemon Showdown, which is probably like Ryan Ugloza and Cybertron, they're all just like hoarding all the data. And like, I know what the meta is. I know the true meta. Let the forums decide what they do, but I have the real meta. So, I mean...
Star Wars coming out this Friday. Shout out to Star Wars. They definitely need it from us.
Yeah. Actually, and they're going to be doing their Galar Weeklies and into 2020 as well. But once VGC starts in January 2020, that's going to be probably the biggest tournament that Pokemon has. But until then, the Galar Weekly is the biggest as of today. We don't have stats for this week's. We're going to have those stats by next week. But I will say that not an hour before recording this podcast, I did see on their Twitter feed that one of the people in the finals is using an Inteleon.
Ooh.
Yeah.
My attention has just been received. I wonder why. Why Inteleon specifically?
So I'll tell you.
I understand like it stops follow me, but that's about it.
But listen, so they actually tweeted out the Twitter account of the person who's using the Inteleon, and he tweeted out like, "Oh, I'm in the finals. I'm using an Inteleon. Like, oh, that's neat. Look at me," kind of thing. But also his Twitter bio, his bio part, it reads Inteleon is better than Dragovish, and so I'm curious why he says that specifically.
Oh, because you can sash it and then kill Dragovish with Ice Beam.
Okay.
So that makes it a lot better, Mike.
Nah, that's fair. All right. So as well, I want to, while we're shouting out VGC Stats, check out VGC Stats' website. If you just search up VGC Stats on Google, it'll probably be the one thing that pops up, which, by the way, and just so anybody here knows, that's what like anybody wants you to do. They want you to Google them, because then that means that the search engines are spitting out their names more. Anyway, go to the VGC Stats site. It shows the tournament stats based on performance and popularity. Now they've like created a combined CP stat, like combat point stat, and of course number one right now is Excadrill. So
this is just for their tournament. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different from Picolytics, because Picolytics does,
I can imagine.
like battle stadium doubles.
Thing.
Yeah, it does everything.
Yeah, the whole thing.
But to have your own tournament and then just give out all the stats for it, that's really cool to me. I like
that's
that
pretty
a lot.
Cool.
But that's not what we're here to talk about, is it? We're here to talk about Trick Room.
Oh,
Trick
boy.
Room. Kevin,
I got a couple.
You've got opinions.
This is an unbiased podcast.
Oh no. Yeah, you've been playing obviously a ton of Battle Spot. What do they call it now? Is it Battle Tower?
Battle Stadium.
Battle Stadium.
It's still BS. I guess. In more ways than one.
I see.
Battle Stadium.
When you say that you're at like 12,000 right now, is that like really low? Do you think there's a ton more?
Oh yeah, I think that's a lot. Well,
can you fall further?
I think so, because here's the thing. I thought that anybody can face anybody from any tier. I mean, from any like area on that ladder, but I have found it that 4,000, the top 4,000 can face anyone within the top 4,000, but once you fall lower than that, you only start facing lower people.
Oh.
So, yeah, like I've only been going against 10,000s and, 9,000s and 8,000s, like around that area. So there is some type of division amongst the tiers, which is what I'm noticing, which is good.
Yeah. Like they have their own,
it makes sense.
Their own brackets. Yeah. Okay, neat. And so within your battle stadium experiences, what has the presence of Trick Room been this week?
It's one or the other. It's either Bronzong and Butterfree or Hatern and Indeedee, or a mix match of both of them, because you add anything with redirection and put it next to a Trick Room user, it becomes really irritating. And the reason why it's Bronzong and Butterfree specifically is because Rage Powder has this little exception where grass Pokemon aren't affected by powder moves. That includes Rage Powder. And so yeah, grass Pokemon can get through and you could hit that Bronzong all you want, but you're not gonna get rid of it. You're not gonna stop a Bronzong with one grass Pokemon.
Really? Okay.
Interesting.
Well,
it's irritating.
Before we get too far into it, then I guess we should get into what Trick Room actually is, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who either have a vague idea of what Trick Room is, or have been hearing the term here and there, or have even been playing the game and seeing it used and don't even know what it is. So I think that I have figured out a comprehensive way of explaining, but not even what Trick Room is, but what Pokemon is. Okay. Pokemon can be broken down into 3 specific categories. All right. There are 800 Pokemon in the game, over 800. There are 400 used in this generation, but everything can be broken down into 3 sections, a triangle, if you will.
This is like Mike explaining the meaning of life right now.
Exactly. I want you to take a look right here. And for those of you who aren't watching the podcast right now, I can tell you super simply what it is. It's a triangle, and at each corner of the triangle, it says a different word. Top one, attack. Bottom one, defense. Other side, speed. So it doesn't matter what position they're in. But anyway, attack, defense, speed at all 3 of those corners. Pokemon can be broken down into those 3 words. All right. You have your attack resources. You have your physical attack, special attack, your effect moves. Like, people from singles would know sword dance or quiver dance, even from VGC. VGC in particular would know things like helping hand. You've got your elements, your bug, grass, psychic, whatnot, your abilities, your EVs, IVs, and your held items, all of those affect attack. Then you have your defense, your physical defense, special defense, your effect moves like protect, your HP, which is a resource. Health is a resource.
Oh, absolutely.
Your elements, water, electric, abilities, EV, IVs, held items, those all go toward your defense. You have your speed. That's your third one. Speed
Trick Room comes in.
Exactly. Your speed, you have your effect moves like your after use, and your quashes after you makes it makes the next whoever it targets do the next attack. Is that
the next move?
That's it. The next
no
move.
matter what.
And then quash like reduces the priority of the move. That's about
so like last. Yeah.
Exactly. It makes it go
-7.
Yeah. Then you have your abilities, EV, IVs, held items. Those all affect speed. You can't really have one without the other in this game. And everything just kind of boils down to the fact that if you can out attack the defense with the right speed, then you win, which is kind of consistent with like everything in life ever. But with those 3 things in mind, Trick Room flips all of that. And
yes.
probably not in the way that I'm showing up on the screen. It's more like it flips speed. So with Trick Room, you still have your attack, you still have your defense, but speed, everything you know about speed is completely turned on its head.
Yeah.
So
upside down.
Kevin, tell me a little bit about what Trick Room is.
Now, Trick Room, pretty much, it just takes the speed and reverses it entirely. So slowest Pokemon go first, and faster Pokemon go last. And that lasts a total of 5 turns. Well, I guess it's technically 4 turns because turn 1 counts as you setting the Trick Room, but don't you get
the immediate speed change like that turn?
I don't know, Mike. It feels like eternity. That's what it feels like. Trick Room is up for eternity. These will be the longest 5 turns of your life. I'll tell you that right now.
That's fair.
But yeah, Trick Room is a move in the game. I guess we should mention that. It's a move. Only a handful of Pokemon get it. Mostly Psychic types, but a handful of other Pokemon also get it. Like a couple Ghost types here and there. A couple normal types. But in terms of what the move does, it has a -7 priority. A -7, if you guys don't know what that means, like in Pokemon, moves along with having speeds to them. Like along with the Pokemon having speeds, moves also have priorities.
Some do.
There's certain moves that have priorities. -7 is the lowest priority possible. So that's where Trick Room is. So it will always go last.
To give you a little bit of extra, whatever for this, Protect. A move that a lot of people would know, that's what, +4, something like that. Extreme Speed +2, which goes faster than Fake Out, which is +1, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
So
Helping Hands +6 or something.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
wow,
it's like really high.
That's like, because I know the way that the game is coded is like every action has a certain priority to it. So like even switching out Pokemon has a priority to it. It's just that switching Pokemon has like the highest priority in the game apart from
it's +7.
Apart from Pursuit, which only has priority above it when it's used. So.
And like if you guys just want to like have like a visualization of this in your head, regular moves are just priority 0.
Fake Out is +3, I'm hearing. What?
Is it really?
Oh.
So that means Helping Hand is above that.
Yeah.
And then E-Speed is below that.
Interesting. Okay. So why would people want to build a Trick Room team?
Now, the reason that people want to build a Trick Room team is kind of similar to what you were saying. Like, Pokemon is comprised of 3 different, I guess, portions, sections. You have attack, defense, speed. Okay, so that's 3 sections. You get rid of 1.
Yeah.
And now you can just put all of your focus on 2 sections, attack and defense. You can without worrying about how fast your Pokemon are, you can make them hit harder. I almost flipped off the camera. Make them hit harder and make them, tankier. Because instead of, Pokemon that you would give like maybe 252 speed, maybe like 116 speed, and you can now just fully commit that to their HP or fully commit that to their defenses or, fully commit it to their attacks. So that just makes it that in general, your Pokemon are technically better Pokemon because of it. And along with that, Pokemon that are slow usually have really strong other stats to compensate for their speed. Now you just remove that compensation and they just become very strong Pokemon.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on with our spotlight, but that is, it's nuts when you just remove speed entirely. It becomes a completely different game.
You just remove the Pokemon's problems and then you're just left with a Pokemon that would be broken if, say, I mean, imagine like take a Torkoal, for example. Torkoal has like very low speed, right?
Yeah.
You essentially take the 140 special attack from a Torkoal and you put it on a Dragapult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just make it the fastest thing on the field. Like that's a little stupid, Mike.
Yeah.
That's a little dumb. But that's why you would want to do it, is because, and along with that, you're also just taking these slower mons that don't get a lot of attention because, slow mons tend to not get a lot of attention. Most people just play good stuff teams. If you guys don't know what good stuff means, it just means take the Pokemon that excel at attack, defense, and speed equally and play them.
That's an Oranguru. What is an Oranguru? Like, if not for Trick Room, what is an Oranguru?
Exactly. What is, anything? What's a Slowbro? What's any Pokemon with like base 30 speed or below?
Yeah.
What are they? You can just outspeed, hit them. Even in VGC, especially, you can double target them to just make sure. Like, maybe not in singles as much. I feel like in singles, using slow mons without Trick Room is a lot more doable.
Yes.
Than in doubles.
Yes.
Because, like, you can make, like, a Slowbro work in singles and be fine without Trick Room. And et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I will say in singles, abilities play a much bigger part in the game, just from what I'm noticing in VGC. There's so much more that VGC brings to the table because you have two Pokemon. Having that extra dimension of like, do I target both of them straight across? Do I make like an X? Do I make both my Pokemon target one Pokemon? Do I make them target the other Pokemon? Like, that's so much more. Yeah, exactly. Are they going to protect? That's so much more of a tricky situation. So
essentially the reasons you build Trick Room, because the slow Pokemon are good too.
Yeah, basically.
Slow Pokemon are good. Sometimes they're better.
So how do you beat it?
Now, there's a couple ways to beat it. Mainly priority is something that we have to mention, because the one good thing about Trick Room in terms of countering Trick Room is that it is -7 priority. So that means that you, given the right resources, have a lot of opportunities to hit that setter. That setter is vulnerable. They are not only going to not attack the first turn, or, whenever they decide to set it up, they're going to go last, no matter what. It doesn't matter if your Pokemon is a Dragapult.
Right.
It will go last if it's -7 priority. I mean, I guess the best example is Mimikyu. Mimikyu is like base 95 speed. It'll go last. But yeah, there's a couple things you can do. Because it is not unbeatable. Nothing is ever unbeatable in Pokemon, guys. That's something that I want to stress to you guys, like right here, right now. Because hacks will always exist. Random RNG will always exist. There's always counters to everything. But yes, you do have things like Fake Out also. Fake Out, like I said, has +3 priority, as was mentioned earlier.
Turns out it's actually automatically since Gen 5, by the way, if anybody's curious about that. I did look that up.
That's why we're confused.
It used to be +1.
Pokemon likes to change things and not tell anybody.
Yeah. They let you figure it out. Anyway, continue.
You have things like Fake Out, which will auto flinch the Pokemon, but even Fake Out has its counters. Like, there are some Trick Room Pokemon like Oranguru gets inner focus, you can't flinch it. Yeah. There are just some ghost type setters like Mimikyu, you can't fake it out because Fake Out's a normal type move. But that's not the only counter, thankfully. There's a couple other counters. There's things like using Trick Room also. Now, this sounds counterintuitive, Mike. To counter Trick Room, you must become the Trick Room. If you see a Trick Room coming, and this does take practice, it does take game knowledge. Eventually, with practice, you'll become good enough to the point where you can look at a team and know exactly what they're going to be doing. You can look at a team and just be like, oh, this is a Trick Room team. Why else would you have all these slow Pokemon and, a setter or two on the team? It's a Trick Room team.
Right.
So by having Trick Room on one of your Pokemon, even if you never use this move in any other scenario, can just revert the Trick Room. Like, Trick Room plus Trick Room equals no Trick Room.
I just thought of something. So I like that you're saying the Trick Room is like a switch, right? Like somebody flicks a switch on, you can just use the same thing to flick the switch off.
Yeah.
There's an item in the game. There's a new item. What's it called? Room service, right? Is that the one that lowers your speed by, is it 2 points?
Yes.
Okay. -2. So room service, for those of you who don't know, is an item where if your Pokemon's holding it and Trick Room is active, then it lowers your Pokemon's speed by 2 stages, which I believe is 0.5. It halves their speed.
Yeah.
what I just thought of is if you put that on a Defiant Pokemon, am I right in thinking that it would increase their speed by 2?
No, Defiant has to be opponent.
Oh, damn.
Opponent. Yeah. Or else you can also just
you just do that and then you activate the Trick Room on your side to disable it, and then you have this +2 to speed.
Yeah, you can't self-Defiant yourself.
Oh man. And even so, like that probably wouldn't be all that great, because who would use a move that just increases speed by 2?
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the problem with room service too, is like it just reduces speed. Like it does nothing for your attack, it does nothing for your defense. Like it doesn't help as much as other held items would.
Yeah, it's just there to make Pokemon that are fast also possible in Trick Room.
Right.
That's like why I think it's there. But something that I was funny that I was thinking about that I don't even know if this has ever happened. Maybe somebody here has like a video clip of this happening. You know, like I said, Trick Room can be used to counter Trick Room. What if your opponent is so next level, he knows that you have Trick Room on one of your Pokemon, and he doubled Trick Rooms with both of his Pokemon and reverts it back into Trick? Now that would be insane.
I'm just gonna make a team.
On.
Just make a team. Just make a team of 6 Trick Room setters and just always Trick Room every single time.
Don't do that, guys. Don't. That's the last thing you want to be doing.
Do as we do, not as we say. Okay. So I think let's super quick, because this intro part took a little bit long. Let's super quick talk about the application of Trick Room.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Now, Trick Room teams kind of have like 3 separate niches to them, like 3 separate kinds of Pokemon that they run in order to be like, you know, the most successful. I guess I should say the most successful Trick Room teams will have these 3 different sections of Pokemon in them. You have Trick Room setters, which are the Pokemon that place up the Trick Room. They're the one that, you know, sacrifice, you know, doing a move their first turn to get that Trick Room up, and then after they convert into a supportive Mon, which brings us to supportive Mons, which are Mons that help the rest of the team do what they're supposed to do. They help the Trick Room get set. They help the abusers deal damage, which brings us to the abusers. Trick Room abusers are Pokemon that we were talking about earlier that are very strong Pokemon, like ridiculously strong Pokemon, but their speed hinders them in regular competitive play. So you want to bring those Trick Room abusers to abuse that Trick Room, be able to outspeed their opponents and deal the damage that they were always meant to deal, but never got the chance to because they would get destroyed in like regular competition. Now, in terms of setters, you have Pokemon like Mimikyu, which is good because you can't fake it out and it gets a free substitute. So it's hard to do that double in thing to Mimikyu. Like I said earlier, like you could simply double into the Trick Room setter and then take it out. It's hard to do that to Mimikyu because Mimikyu gets a free substitute, which means that it could take 1 damage. Like it'll just take 1 move and just only lose 10% of its HP, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now, you also have other Pokemon like Oranguru. Can't get flinched from fake outs. Really good. Bronzong, amazing when paired with Butterfree, because like I said earlier, Bronzong is a steel type. Butterfree can redirect the attacks to the Butterfree. That kind of does make it like a suicide lead, but you know, it's fine. You just have to bring very strong abusers with that kind of team. If you're sacrificing 1 slot to be a Pokemon that kind of just dies off, then you definitely have to bring like, you know, a strong backline for that. And then you have Dusclops, just a tank. Just very disgusting. It's so hard to double hit it and then get rid of it. And then Hatturn, same thing. The reason Hatturn is good, especially next to Indeedee, and in both situations with Bronzong and Hatturn, the Butterfree and the Indeedee would be the supporters to support them to get the Trick Room off. Those two are just like generally very strong together, but not so strong individually, in my opinion. Hatturn is really good with Indeedee because Indeedee gives the Psychic Terrain. You can Dynamax after you Trick Room, just blast off Mind Storms and one-shot everything.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that those are the setters for you. Those are like our top 5 setters. There's a gigantic list of Pokemon that get this move. Simple Google. We can't talk about all of them for you know, crunch time. Next we have supporters. We talked about Indeedee. We talked about Butterfree. Also, fake out supporters are good. Just anything with a fake out is good with a Trick Room setter. Because if you're able to flinch one of your opponents, then that's one less Pokemon that can hit your Trick Room setter. I do want to mention this generation, this is less viable of an option because fake out as a move is less viable because you can't flinch a D-Max. If your opponent can predict that a fake out is coming, they can just D-Max and not care. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, Mike.
Yes.
We have our Trick Room abusers.
Oh.
Torkoal. Stupid damage.
Really?
Mudsdale. Stupid tank. Snorlax, stupid damage, stupid tank.
Now, is this just because they have like super high damage moves and high damage like special attack or attack?
Yes, absolutely.
They're just unusable otherwise because their speed is so low.
They're not the tankiest. Like a Torkoal is a stupid damage abuser. We're gonna. There's 4 different sections to this. There's stupid damage, stupid tank, stupid damage, stupid tank, and then stupid. Torkoal is stupid damage. Which means that it's frail, but it can one-shot your Pokemon, like 100%. It's just 140 base special attack. You can go for 150 base attack like Eruption at full HP, and just one-shot Pokemon in the sun. It's like so many stat bonuses on top of each other that it just becomes like a very hard to manage Pokemon. I mean, hard to go against Pokemon. Then you have Pokemon like Mudsdale, which are very strong, especially with the stamina ability. You touch this Pokemon, it gets +3 defense.
No, really?
Yeah. Stamina is stupid. You touch this Pokemon, it gets +3 defense. They always run Assault Vest, and on top of that, you're gonna make it the fastest thing on the field. No, thank you. And it gets access to Body Press this game, Mike. I actually went against the beat up Whimsicott with the Mudsdale. It hit the Mudsdale twice, set it up to +6 defense, it went for Body Press.
Oh my god. What?
I didn't like it very much.
That's incredible.
I didn't like it. No, stop. And then Whimsicott can learn Trick Room too. There's your setter.
Oh wow. That's insane.
Oh god, yeah. And you got your stupid damage, stupid tank. This tier I give to Snorlax.
Okay.
Snorlax can just set up to +6 whenever he wants because he is so tanky it doesn't matter. Belly Drum. Yeah, with Belly Drum. And then he's so tanky it doesn't matter. You give him, priority, not priority. You give him the first hits in a battle, and you can't. Not many things can survive a +6 Snorlax because it has attack on top of it all. I don't know why this Pokemon gets Belly Drum. I understand it's a big blob, but why?
Wow.
And then next we have our stupid tier, which we're gonna save to after the break.
Good segue. Go ahead.
There it is. Good segue. We're gonna talk about Rhyperior after the break, which has been taking up storm on online competitive battles, especially in Trick Room teams. So that's what we're gonna do next. After that, we'll see you in a couple minutes.
Okay, and we are back. We're back and we're fully charged. I got myself some water so I don't literally die again. And we are fully ready to get into today's very first, hopefully first of many, Pokemon Spotlight. Today's Spotlight will be on the stupid tier himself.
The stupid tier.
Rhyperior. Now, Rhyperior, I have on the screen what his typical moveset and stats are. So for everybody who's listening in, typically Rhyperiors will have weakness policy with the ability Solid Rock, with EVs of 252 HP, 252 attack, 4 special defense with a brave nature. What does Solid Rock do again, Kevin?
Yeah, just to double check, I'm making sure.
Yeah, right?
Okay. Solid Rock reduces the damage taken from super effective moves by 25%.
Wow.
Which is good on this Pokemon because
absolutely.
This Pokemon has a lot of weaknesses.
Yes, it does. It usually uses the moves Rock Slide, Protect, High Horsepower, and Earthquake with the potential replacements of Fire Punch, Hammer Arm, and Heavy Slam specifically. Rhyperior is like the perfect example of an amazing Trick Room Pokemon due to its high stat total and its low speed, as Kevin was talking about. So, usually when you see Pokemon online with stat totals of 500 plus. It's usually like well divided between its 6 stats, including speed, including the stat that it doesn't use if it's not a mixed attacker. But Rhyperior is insane in ways that I'm going to go over in a little bit. But first, I do want to let you know that it's Pokemon that it typically likes to be with are Oranguru, Torkoal, Dusclops, Hattern.
If you guys haven't seen our breeding guide, I mean, I guess this kind of looks like an image for that one.
I mean, kind of, right? Like, we could have used the same image, exactly. And Bronzong. Bronzong was an interesting combo that I learned about. Because typically when people run weakness policy on Rhyperior, they'll put, like, Bulldoze on Bronzong. And the whole reason is, like, you minimize Bronzong's attack IVs, so you keep that at 0, so that you can do, like, absolutely no damage with Bulldoze to Rhyperior. It'll take the super effective hit, it'll take, like, no damage, and then it'll have weakness policy for its attack. And I thought that was just so creative and so insane. Like, it's like a beat up, but used differently.
Yeah. But here's the thing with Rhyperior, because Rhyperior specifically this generation is, like, good for multitude of reasons. Because Rhyperior has always existed since, like, Gen 4. But, like, it's never, or at least I haven't had a big problem with it, even in Trick Room. I think before this generation, people would just use Eviolite Rhydon in Trick Room. They wouldn't even go for Rhyperior.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why it's, like, 100% Rhyperior right now is because of Dynamax. Dynamax just makes it extra stupid. Because this Pokemon has 115 base HP, 140 base attack. Like I said, Trick Room Mons excel in everything except speed.
Yeah.
And this excels in 3 gigantic stats, like big stats. Like, the fact that its special attack is so low is irrelevant.
Yeah.
The only 2 relevant ones that it lacks in are special defense and speed. But like I said, Dynamax is so good because Dynamax will take your HP. In this case, I think
like 222
maxed out. Yeah. 222. Oh yeah, level 50, 222. It'll double it. Like, if you're in full HP, it'll double it.
Yeah.
It becomes a ridiculous nuts. Pokemon with a lot of HP, very high defense, and a solid rock ability. It takes his 4-time weaknesses, turns it into 3-time weaknesses, and it takes its 2 times and turns it into, like, 1.5.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. Like, and it has so many weaknesses. That weakness policy makes so much sense on it. So your base 140 attack will now just also get, 50% boosted.
And I really want to drive home that point of the stats on this Pokemon with HP, attack, defense, and special defense. In total, that's 440 points, which might not mean a lot on its own, but is already way more than the meta. Now, this is without special attack. This is without speed, because again, with Trick Room, you can basically say that speed doesn't actually matter, or the calculations will be different. But since the calculations are so different, I was just like, you know what, remove that. To drive that home, here's Arcanine. Arcanine has a HP, attack, defense, and special defense in the same comparison, a total of 360, which is 80 full points lower, 80 like points of meat, 80 very important points
that you're just missing.
Exactly.
It has speed. Yeah.
If you're going a special attacker, even worse, because its special attack is 10 points less than its attack.
For you guys that don't know, like, for total base stats, like, usually you want to stick to, like, if you want, like, a good stuff spawn, you want your Pokemon to be at, like, 490 and above is usually what you stick to. Like, you want to at least have, like, 500 base stat totals.
Yeah.
What Mike is saying is that removing speed and removing a special attack, Rhyperior is already almost good on its own.
It's just there.
If you gave it 0 special attack and 0 speed, it is still, like, top Pokemon.
Yeah. Same thing with Dragapult. Well, Dragapult is a completely different story because most of it is built off of the fact that it's like one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. It's got a speed of 142. Without all of without all of that and without its special attack, that's 358, which I believe, that's 2 lower.
That's pathetic.
Than Arcanine.
Wait, that's
like, where's your Dragapult now? Like,
that's 358 sounds like a base stat total for a mid Evo.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds very low.
Exactly. And
yeah, speed's important.
Rotom Wash was even lower than that. I don't think I put together a thing for that, but Rotom Wash was even lower than all of those. I think it was like 320 something. It was nuts. So Rhyperior's broken in Trick Room, but again, the downside is that like you need to be using Trick Room for
that was a good caveat there.
All of that to actually make sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was just about to say, a Rhyperior out of Trick Room, I'll scoff at.
Yeah.
A Rhyperior with the Trick Room setup, I'm running for my life. Like exactly. it's that black and white. Like it's that big of a difference.
You got to think about it like that, because I mean it's the same thing with any other types of setups, right? Like if you let somebody set up the rain, if you let somebody set up sun, if you let somebody on a more impactful note set up something like Swords Dance or Quiver Dance, like you're gonna have a hard time dealing with them. Rhyperior is just one of those Pokemon where like that setup needs to happen in order for it to be good. Like my boy Frostmoth, like as good as it is, it's usually not great without a Quiver Dance. I find that I have trouble using a Frostmoth when I haven't danced it up. So, there's that. But that's going to be all for the Pokemon Spotlight for today. I would love to do a Pokemon Spotlight every single week, or at least every few weeks, because I feel like just talking about Pokemon specifically, those like specific Pokemon, is a really fun time for me. I like doing that.
You know what, Mike? Yeah. Do we have a functioning email for this?
Yeah, we do. It's actually Pokesportspodcast@gmail.com.
Send in your suggestions to what Pokemon you think we could spotlight. Preferably, like competitive mons that are, currently being used or currently like the flavor of the month. We'd really like to talk about those specifically.
What a great ask. What a great CTA. If you have a competitive Pokemon that you love to use, send it to Pokesportspodcast@gmail.com. Or even send it to us on Twitter. Write it out in a tweet with the hashtag Pokesports Podcast, or just Pokesports. I'll check both.
You can find us everywhere.
Yeah, we're accessible, dude. Like just check it out. Anyway, let's get into some audience questions here. Just for the people in the audience right now, if you would like to ask a question as it revolves around Trick Room, make sure to add the exclamation mark question before your question, and we will be sure to answer it. Rather early on in the podcast, actually, Shade Ravenfell, big loyal friend of the podcast, asks, could we take a look at the speed tiers for a rundown? And you know what? I have actually gone and done that for you right over here. If you'll take a look. Now, for those of you who are just listening in, I have, let's not capture cursor there. Oh, there we go. I put down I put down a website, trainertower.com has the speed tiers for VGC 2020. And it's listing all of the Pokemon based on their speed. So can you, Kevin, let's give me a little bit of a breakdown of what I'm seeing here. So right now it's looking like, in terms of base speed, Ninjask is still the most fastest Pokemon in the game. Not usable, but it's there.
Which means it's the slowest in Trick Room in the game.
This is true. This is true.
There it is.
If we do a big old flip, the very first thing we'll see.
There,
yeah,
guys.
exactly.
Mike just used Trick Room.
I just used Trick Room on the website. Yeah. I know Pincherin is there. No one's using Pincherin. Wow. Torkoal is actually one of the lowest speed tiers in the game. Look at that. Base speed of 20. Base speed of 20. Ferrothorn's there. How come do you see any Ferrothorns in Trick Room?
You see, Ferrothorn's one of the weird ones, right? Ferrothorn's one of the ones that you'll see in regular teams, but you'll never see in a Trick Room team. And like, that's like my experience with Ferrothorn. Like, if I see a Ferrothorn, I'm just like, this Pokemon is just such a good typing, has such good moves, has such good coverage, such good stats. it doesn't need its speed. It's one of the few Pokemon that I'm just like, oh, you are a singles. You're a good stuff. You're not a Trick Room mon. Fairthorn's an interesting one.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand why Greedent is there. Greedent's like one of the slowest Pokemon in the game. I've seen it used in singles once before, actually. I think I got like absolutely bodied by a Greedent before. And I don't know
Greedent
why.
does what Snorlax does, doesn't it? It's like it's a very similar thing.
It's a very similar bond, yeah.
Yeah, you just belly drum, right? That's all I can imagine.
Gigalith is another interesting one.
Sandroom, very very popular idea.
Is Sandroom like active this generation?
I haven't seen it. I just see people mostly go for Tyranitar and Excadrill if they're going sand, but Sandroom can definitely have its advantages. I think one of my old VGC 2014 teams, my first ever team, was Gigalith and Mega Mawile.
Really?
Because you can pair it with like Sand Force users. You can pair it with like, I think Steelix is in the game. You can make Steelix useful because it gets like, I don't think it gets Sand Force. But it's Steel type, so you wouldn't get hit by the sand, which is nice.
No, I mean, you do have to kind of take everything on this list with a grain of salt because, like, just because they're low speed doesn't mean they're good.
Yes, I was just about to say that. Just because it's slow doesn't mean it's Trick Room.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cursula is down here at 30, but actually, no, that's not true. Cursula's a beast.
Good.
Oh no, it's Corsula's that's good.
Corsula is the better one. Cursula's You just want to be tankier.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about Ghost Corsula sometime because I had a fun week with that one. But
were you playing singles?
I was playing singles.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Hello.
But anyway, so you know what? I think let's end that question there. But so take a look at the speed tiers again. That's trainertower.com/VGC20 speed tiers, or just go to trainertower.com. You'll be able to find it there. I wanted to ask you a question, actually, Kevin.
Oh,
yeah,
spicy.
I wanted to know, what are your thoughts about the evolving meta so far? It feels like things have kind of changed, week to week, and I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I'm experiencing like a change day to day.
Yeah, that's true.
Or like every 2 days I'll see like something completely pop out of the woodworks. And a lot of like, as much as I hate rental teams, and I'll tell you I hate rental teams a lot, they're contributing to the changing meta.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they're making Pokemon accessible. Certain popular individuals are making certain Pokemon trend, which changes the meta again. On top of that, they make their rental teams accessible. Everyone's using the same teams, etc., etc. So I experienced a trend difference where I feel like I was one of the first people to use like a Vilecoal rental team and like really make that work. And I was able to just climb. I got all the way to top 500 before anybody knew what to do against it. And then 2 days later, now I'm 12,000, like, because people just learn what to do against it.
Yeah, and not even people, just like one person, like whistleblowers will come out and be like, "Hey, I know how to beat this Vilecoal," and soon everybody is like swarming them, being like, "Oh my god, let me try that!" And then it keeps evolving like that. It's nuts.
Like, I think the evolving meta is good.
Yeah,
there are some unhealthy changes that they made to this game, and I will stand by that like wholeheartedly. One of the biggest unhealthy changes they made is dynamic speed. I don't like it. That you can just snap your fingers, set up Tailwind, and then suddenly your adjacent Pokemon are faster than mine. That's not okay. You should have to wait till the next turn, because then technically Tailwind is 4 turns long, not 3. While Trick Room is technically still only 4. So I guess that makes them fair.
Even that, like, that's another thing that VGC has over singles, right? Like, Tailwind isn't
that matters a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tailwind isn't the thing. Like, speed doesn't matter as much once the actual turn is started. Once your moves have been selected, speed doesn't matter. Speed's just what it is.
Yeah, in doubles, it affects the adjacent Pokemon as well.
Yes.
So like, there are situations where I was having Vilecoal, so my Vileplume was the fastest thing on the field. I was in Chlorophyll Sun, so I should be outspeeding everything. And then he has like a Whimsicott and a Dragovich. And then suddenly the Dragovich is outspeeding my Vileplume and hitting my Torkoal. My strategy is no longer viable because he goes for Tailwind and then immediately gets the speed. Like, that isn't okay, in my opinion. But that's just, that's my 2 cents.
Ryan coming in clutch in the literal last few minutes of this podcast with a paste of the Galar winner this week. I'm not going to read through. I am going to read through the whole thing. It's Togekiss, Indeedee, Pikachu. Huh.
Wait. Was I'm assuming Gigantamaxes were allowed if they're running Pikachu. I guess they're doing Gigantamaxes now.
Oh,
that's the only thing I could think.
Yeah, Gmax Pikachu. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Tyranitar, Chandelure, and Excadrill. I will go on the record saying that I do not like Excadrill. It's not my friend.
Oh, but I see what he did here. He ran Surf Pikachu with Weakness Policy Tyranitar. Oh, okay. And as you can see, he's running an anti-Trick Room also with his Chandelure. He's running Trick Room on his Chandelure with Imprison.
Oh, and Max Speed Investment too.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. So that's how the winner of Galar Weekly, number 4, how they did. I'm excited to see the stats. If you would like to see the stats, keep an eye on Pokésports podcast at Pokésports podcast on Instagram, because I'm going to be posting all of those stats there. Or just go to VGC Stats, their Twitter, but go to ours too, because you know what? We love you.
We love you more than they do, we promise.
Well, yeah, it's true, actually. We do. Kevin, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube at xRazeOvation.
Okay.
I stream almost every day, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Oh, good for you.
Find me there. Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram at StillJustMike, or on YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, all at StillJustMike. You can find the podcast, of course, as I said, on Instagram at Pokésports Podcast, on Twitter at PokésportsPod. Send us an email with your favorite Pokemon and why you like to use it to Pokésportspodcast at gmail.com. Subscribe to us on Twitch. We stream this podcast live, so all of the ums and ahs and blahs and coughs and clearing your throats, that's all there live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays, every single one. And for those of you who are listening to us on, YouTube or Twitch, you can also subscribe to us on Spotify. Just search up Pokésports Podcast. Anyway, that's going to be it for us. So I hope y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Goodbye.
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 Toodles.
I love you. Bye-bye.